We're going to get started. We have another poet. We have a poet coming up first of the evening, and it is our first time performing, so we're super excited to welcome Miss Jess to the stage. Everyone, give a round of applause. All right. This is called You Matter. I truly love people. When I meet someone, even if for a moment, I try to let them know that I see them. That without even saying a word, that I see them. That they matter. I've met so many people in my life, but there are some stories that will forever follow me no matter where I go. There are some stories that I can't seem to escape. And so it is one of those stories that I'd like to share with you. See, I've been working with kids since I was 18 years old. I'm sure that at this point of my life, the count is in the hundreds. But there's one little girl whose story, whose presence doesn't seem to leave me. She was very serious, but once you got her to laugh, she couldn't stop. She laughed with a laughter, a strange laughter that filled the room with light air. Like a breath of pure oxygen in the midst of a thick and toxic place. She was quiet, but her eyes were burst with the wisdom of an old soul. She was a little girl, 5 years old, a child, yes, a child. But her actions seemed grown and bold. She was smart, with an ingenuity that allowed her to devise solutions beyond her years. She was 5 years old and had empathy that is not taught, but one that is gifted. Obtained through tears, through a sensitive soul armed with a relentless spirit. She didn't know, but I knew. I could see her. I could see that her hunger for knowledge and perfection was a thirst to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be accepted, a panting thirst for affirmation. I remember her so well. There was no doubt that us meeting was divinely appointed. I wanted her to know, as I do every person that I meet, that I could see her, that she mattered to me. Our paths crossed again, and she was a teenager. She reminded me a lot of the little girl I had met before. And she still had the same type of seriousness, silence, a silence that in the midst of strangers had been tailored and cut and transformed. It had taken the shape of something far beyond what it once looked like. Hardened, calloused. She was only 14 years old, a young lady, but to me she was still that little girl, a child. But she continued to exhibit behavior far beyond her years. She continued to exhibit the empathy gifted to her as a child. Empathy, gifted, obtained through tears, through a sensitive soul armed with a relentless spirit. For those closest to her, even those who called her friend, she was very much an outsider, different on the outside end, and for those closest to her, it was beyond their comprehension why someone who didn't drink or do drugs felt more comfortable surrounded by those who did. Not only by those who did, but by those whom addiction had been broken and battered. She didn't know, they didn't know, but I knew. I could see her. Taking care of others was what she knew. Remember that strength that she had, the empathy she possessed had been birthed early on in her life. Her empathy was beautiful. Her willingness to help others was genuine and kind. She didn't know, but I knew. For her, it was easier to be kind to others than it was to be kind to herself. For her, it was easier to show such empathy and grace to others than it was to show empathy and grace to herself. For her, it was easier to help others through their pain than to deal with her own. For her, it was easier to love others than to love herself. But she didn't know. She was a child. She didn't know that it was her escape. It was what she felt gave her strength. It's what she felt gave her self-worth. In helping others, she felt that she was making a difference, changing the world, and she was, but that didn't determine her self-worth. I wish I could have told her right away. I wish I could have let her know that I saw her, that I accepted her, that I loved her. However, it took years for me to do just that. It took years. When we met again, she was a young woman, 25 years old, and in some ways, she wasn't as calloused as I once remembered her. In some ways, she wasn't as quiet as she once had been. It was wonderful to witness her accomplishments. She had continued using the empathy gifted to her as a child. She was helping troubled kids, helping those that others feared, creating a safe place for them to learn, to grow, to be vulnerable, letting them know that she saw them, that she accepted them, that they mattered. That gift truly was a gift, and it had become her passion. But what lied beneath, submerged beneath, was far more than just that. When she was a child, I could see right through her. But somehow it seemed that as an adult, it was not as easy. As though I was looking through murky water, it took me a while to recognize what I was seeing. To recognize that submerged beneath her accomplishments was the same child that I remembered so well. Yes, she was a woman now, all grown up, but that empathy, that gift, her passion, it continued to be her escape. It was what she felt gave her strength. It's what she felt gave her self-worth. In helping others, she felt that she was making a difference, changing the world, and she was, but that didn't determine her worth. I wish I could have told her right away. I wish I could have let her know that I saw her, that I accepted her, that I loved her. However, it took years for me to do just that. See, it took a lot of reflecting, not just looking, but reflecting and seeing. It's much easier to see the whole picture when taking a step back. I could see it. I could see it was so much easier to see that little girl when I took a step back. I'm thankful that I was able to tell her that I saw her, that I accepted her, that I loved her. It took a lot of reflecting, but how does one see the reflection in murky water? Even in taking several steps back, how does one see the reflection in such conditions? How does one see what has been submerged for so long? It takes a lot of digging, a lot of work to be able to reflect, to see what once was, to see what continues to be, to share with that woman, this woman standing before you, that it's not enough to let others know you see them, but that you're enough to be worth seeing. That it's not enough to let others know you accept them, but that you're enough to be accepted. That it's not enough to love others, but that you're enough to be loved by others, to be loved by yourself. I have to remind myself, to remind this woman standing before you, let her know, just as I do every other person that I come across, that I see her and that she matters. Thank you.